Very warm welcome. You're watching the Super Saturday debate. I'm Akanksha Swaroop. Pakistan's Chief of Army, the Field Marshal Asim Munir, has escalated the rhetoric once again against India and the Afghan Taliban. He has accused both of working in tandem through militant proxies to destabilize Pakistan. Munir was speaking today at the Pakistan Military Academy in Abbottabad. The Field Marshal has threatened that Pakistan would respond forcefully if proxies continue to operate from across the border. Munir has said that Pakistan will not bow to misguided terrorists having a perverted interpretation of Islam. In fact, he has warned that Pakistan's battle-hardened army will respond well beyond the expectations of any initiators if hostility is triggered. Clearly, the timing of Munir's remarks is what stands out. This when Pakistan has wreaked havoc on Afghanistan, failing to hold a ceasefire at a time when the Afghanistan Cricket Board has confirmed the killing of 3 innocent Afghani domestic cricketers, a result of Pakistan's airstrikes in the Paktika province on Friday that also killed 7 other Afghans. So clearly, for Pakistan, it's easy to blame a neighbor than fix Pakistan's own internal security failures on all fronts, including their economy as well. Because just days ago, the Pak Defence Minister Khwaja Asif alleged that the Taliban leadership was sitting in India's lap, meaning it was fighting India's proxy war against Pakistan. So is the Pak establishment, including their army chief Asim Munir, placing the blame of their own internal security failures on India, whether it is POK to Balochistan all the way to Kabul? When a nuclear-armed army chief uses hawkish language, it sends a message. But who is he protecting? If Pakistan truly seeks regional stability, why blame Afghanistan as an Indian proxy? Remember, Islamabad has consistently accused India of sponsoring TTP and the militancy in Balochistan, raising the key question: how desperate is the Pak establishment and the deep state to hide their own failures? That's a question we'll be debating in just a bit.
The law enforcement agencies and the armed forces, with the support of the brave people of Pakistan, particularly of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Balochistan, will surely defeat this menace as well. The Taliban regime must rein in the proxies who have sanctuaries in Afghanistan and are using Afghan soil to perpetrate heinous attacks inside Pakistan.
With that, let me introduce my esteemed panelists today. I'm joined in by former diplomat, Ambassador Anil Trigunayat. I'm also joined in by retired Lieutenant General K.J.S. Dhillon, who's a former General Officer commanding of 15 Corps Indian Army and Senior Fellow at the ORF, Sushant Sareen. Many thanks to you, gentlemen, for joining in. Lieutenant General Dhillon, if I could bring you in to begin with, what does it speak of Asim Munir and his saber rattling that we've seen? First, Kashmir being Pakistan's jugular vein. Today, India acting in tandem with Afghanistan to conduct its own proxy war. The fact of the matter remains that they have no evidence to back the claims that he's made today. How is India to take this?
Good evening, Kansha. Good evening to the fellow panelists,
Sir.
and good evening to your viewers. What actually happened on the Pak border in the last few days, it was a very, very, bad situation for Pakistan, and especially for Asim Munir, who had assured the Americans that you come in, we will get you Bagram. Afghanistan is a child's play, and they are our proxies only, and we will go and tell them, and they will accept our point of view. And secondly, you come in and you mine in KPK and Balochistan and take away all the rare earths, and we'll also give you a Pasnipot. Now, he assured them, and that's how the President Donald Trump has been commenting repeatedly, taking his name. And now what happened was, when they tried to hit the TTP leader inside Kabul, and that killed civilians, and Afghanis retaliate on the Durand line, and that killed Pakistani soldiers. Now, Afghan fighters killing Pakistan army soldiers was something which Asim Munir could not take it. Because as it is after Operation Sindoor, people were asking questions, and they somehow were trying to, tell their people that 60, 70, 80, I don't know how many zeros.
Jay.
And now when Afghan fighters hit a regular army, and the videos and photographs were all over the internet, now this is where Americans would have asked them, how come now? You are saying that Afghanistan will give you easily, and now you are getting yourself a bloody nose. Now this hit Asim Munir's pride and the typical Punjabi Pakistani Musliman and Pakistani military pride that who are saying that we are invincible. And here there was not even some kafirs to blame. We are fighting against the fellow Muslims. The jihad was against fellow Muslims. And now he had to find a way out and saying that it's not Afghanistan we have lost our soldiers to, it is India. So this is some sort of a saving grace he was trying to extract out of the worst situation.
So
and this is where he is now trying to blame everything on India and trying to say that this was not Afghan people. And now killing of civilians, including the cricketers. And I am hats off to the Afghan Cricket Board. They walked out of the trilateral series, and that is the way the nation must behave. That is the way. जिसको हम कहते हैं ना कौम तब बड़ी बनती है जब इस तरह से बड़े-बड़े decision लेते हैं. And this was one decision which they took, and I am all very much with them. And Asim Munir has got a red face. They're so badly off that no politician in Pakistan is talking about Afghanistan thing. Other than only saying it is India's doing, it is India's doing, it is India's doing. So I think the whole game has gone wrong, where they had promised Americans the world, and here it is, they're getting casualties of their own soldiers.
So that foreign angle also I'm going to touch upon with Sushant in just a bit. But Ambassador Trigunayat, Khwaja Asif has said that our relations cannot go back to what they were in the past. I want to perhaps remind him through you about their own failed talks that were taking place back in the year 2022 when the Taliban regime took over. They were the first ones to be celebrating. Then the TTP and the Taliban facilitated talks between Pakistan and the TTP, which of course failed. Where was India in these talks? Why blame India now? And are they forgetting that if Taliban were to pledge its own allegiance, which they have already, to Akhundzada, and if Akhundzada was to call for the destruction of Pakistan, they'll all be running with their tails behind?
Yes, Akanksha, you are right. In fact, unfortunately or fortunately, the Pakistan's sole existence, especially of their deep state, which includes the ISI and the military, it is only based against India. They need India in everything. I mean, their every single act or their planning is taking into account India and how they can harm India in whichever way. I mean, it is true that you can imagine today the Field Marshal Asim Munir was talking from Abbottabad. I mean, that is the same place where Osama bin Laden was taken out and that he was surviving under their patronage. Now, they would not look at their own failures. They would not look at their own record of continuing to promote terrorism, both against India as well as against Afghanistan, leave alone other countries. And so now they are just trying to somehow come up with this threatening language against India, which means nothing, frankly. But at the same time, I believe that this passing the buck or just targeting everything against India is a habit that has been perpetuated in Pakistani establishment. Secondly, as far as Afghanistan is concerned, they have had problems with them for a long time. They are the ones who created Taliban, Mujahideen and all, we all know, to fight the Soviet Union. They are the ones who thought that now that Afghanistan is being ruled by Taliban, that they will be carrying their own diktat all the time, which they refused, obviously. They are also very proud people. And they have realized, I mean, I don't know if you are aware that when we were evacuating in the wake of change over, the Taliban had approached the Indian embassy and told them, you don't have to leave, we'll look after you. And thereafter, they have realized what India had done in the past 20 years. The only country that has stood with the Afghan people for their own nation building efforts, for the reconstruction of Afghanistan. India is the only country that has done that. And Taliban, irrespective of their ideology, can see through it. And that's what we witnessed during the visit of Mutaki, Foreign Minister Mutaki here, when he was clearly telling, I mean, that is something that was not amenable to the Pakistani outfit. They thought that now they are becoming India's, they will be working at India's behest. That is not true also.
Right.
India wants stabilization, the stability in Afghanistan as well as in the region. But the Pakistan is the only malicious actor in the region, which is destabilizing the whole region, actually.
And I'm glad you mentioned the Foreign Minister Mutaki's visit, because I want to quickly bring in Sushant on that note as well. Sushant, whether it is that joint statement that came out during Mutaki's visit, which also condemned Pahalgam, their assurances that they will never allow Afghan soil to be used against India. We don't know how much India can rely on that, because there are a lot of mixed views coming out of Indian media itself. They were also condemned for not having women in the first press conference. They've, of course, made up for that. But what should be India's engagement? There are also voices saying that you cannot trust a government which is eventually formed out of a terror group. But at the same time, we have our own concerns. And look at the plight of Afghanistan right now, their dwindling economy. They've only been abused by Western vested interests. Russia is the only country that has so far acknowledged them. India, China, Iran are still in the process of it. So I'd like to bring in your thoughts, perhaps in a more recalibrated manner.
So, Akansha, look, the thing is that actually I lost my train of thought, but let me just start with something which the two of my colleagues on the show pointed out. Look, the Pakistanis, one reason they blame India is a very simple one. Notwithstanding whatever you hear, the nice perfumed people in Delhi who talk about their abiding love for Pakistan and why we should live in peace. The fact of the matter is that the Pakistanis have always treated Indians and Hindus in particular as enemies. So one thing which concentrates the Pakistani mind is that if you blame something on India, then it's easy to coalesce the country on a particular issue. So no matter what happens, an earthquake comes, they'll blame India. That is as far as blaming India is concerned. Secondly, none of these duffer generals of Pakistan will ever tell you that at what stage did the Taliban become proxies of India. Because in 2021, their current defense minister was gloating about the Taliban having, won the war. The then Prime Minister of Pakistan was saying they have broken the shackles of slavery. So at what point of time did the Taliban become proxies of India? Now, as far as Mutaki's visit is concerned, look, I don't hold any brief whatsoever. And in fact, I abhor their misogynism of the Taliban. But that thing about the press conference was a storm in a teacup, as far as I.
No, I agree that misogyny can't just be the only reason for halting any kind of engagement at a time when we know there's so much geopolitical disturbance.
On a more substantive note, you asked on the Taliban not allowing their soil to be used against India. Why do you think this visit has happened? Because in the last 4 years, if you speak to the people in the know, they will tell you that there is nothing coming at India from Afghanistan. There is no anti-India activity taking place in Afghanistan. There is no anti-India group. Maybe a few elements of the Al-Qaeda and Indian subcontinent who are doing some pamphleteering out there. But otherwise, there is.
But the UNSC has, in fact, lauded them for cracking down on ISIS Khorasan.
Exactly. So the point is that, and the Taliban are inveterate enemies of the ISIS Khorasan, right? The ISIS Khorasan has been using language which is remarkably similar, if not identical, to what the Pakistanis have been using against the Taliban and against India. So the Pakistani logic has been, and the Pakistani statements, both by the parrots in the media of Pakistan as well as some officials, has been that look at the Taliban, how come they are fighting against Islam in Pakistan with the support of Hindutva, right? This is exactly the language ISIS is using, which is why I keep saying ISIS is the plural of ISI. Nothing more, nothing less, right? And the fact of the matter remains that there is some kind of, the ISI and the ISIS as far as targeting not only the Baloch freedom fighters but also the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan and the Taliban itself is concerned. But there is nothing which is the Taliban are doing which is inimical to India. So what are people cribbing about out here? Should I not protect my own interest if the other side is being nice and decent as far as I am concerned and is reaching out to me? What should I do? Should I stand on ceremony and say that no, I don't agree with your philosophy, I don't agree with your ideology, I will have nothing to do with you?
And you know what beats logic is that you have the Syrian president, who happened to be a terrorist himself, be hosted by the US president. So the US president did not have any issues with him. The Russian president is whining and dining with him. Then why have issues with the Taliban, which perhaps is now looking towards opening doors and perhaps starting? I'm sure that a chance can be given over here, but I'm going to in fact ask you all to hold on to your thoughts, because we are getting in a mega exclusive in inputs shared by security editor Mr. Manoj Gupta. We are learning of inside details of the Pak-Afghan Taliban meeting, which is currently taking place in Doha. What we are being told is that this meeting has gone on for over 4 hours, and sources in Doha say that the Taliban and Pakistani delegations are now being hosted by the high-ranking Qatari officials, which have opened the session. Both sides have been allowed to discuss outstanding issues. The sources have expressed optimism that a positive announcement will come. Islamabad is in fact pushing Qatar's facilitation to get a conditional ceasefire extension. Let me also quickly go back to Ambassador Anil Trigunayat on that note. So, Ambassador, there are a host of key sticking points over here which will be negotiated. Of course, there's a ceasefire that's going to be the priority right now, but it is the aerial bombardment also that Afghanistan wants to, control, the one that's coming in from Pakistan. But what is it that's going to in fact ensure that this ceasefire takes place and that it holds? What are the key sticking points at the moment in your viewpoint?
Well, I think that whether the ceasefire will hold or not is still very difficult to say. Because today, after the attacks and killing of the three of the cricketers, as well as some 17 odd people by the Pakistani jets, the public furor and anger is very high in Afghanistan. So I doubt very much that they will be very keen to really go in as if nothing had happened. And as Trump also said, that it was Pakistan which had started this whole thing. They are the ones who attacked the TTP in Kabul, and they are the ones who have been aggressors in the whole thing. And they have been continuing. And whereas the Mujahid today has just said that we have nothing to do with the TTP, and this is they are in Pakistan, and the Pakistanis have to handle them. Instead, they are also hosting the ISIS. So I believe that there will be an extension of some kind of a ceasefire, but whether it will hold out is very difficult to say.
Lieutenant General KJS Dhillon, if I could have quick 30 seconds of closing thoughts on what can these Western interests at the moment ensure for Afghan Pakistan?
The Western interest, to specifically talk about USA, the rare earths are there, the Bagram airfield is there. As also, if you look at the geostrategy, I keep making this point again and again, there is Strait of Hormuz, there is the Persian Gulf, the energy. Then on the west is Iran, unfinished agenda. On the north is Afghanistan, unfinished agenda. Then there is the China, there's Russia, there's China, there's India, the competitors of the future, and the 3 nuclear powers. Now, anyone in this region who will give you airspace or give you air bases to operate in future, the only place is Pakistan, which for few dollars will give you that. And that is why Pakistan will not lose relevance in the Western eyes or in the American eyes. But this has taken a big hit. This Afghans hitting the Pakistan army has taken a big hit. And all the claims that Pakistan army will handle everything in this region, Pakistan army is in control of Pakistan, I think that has gone for a 6.
Absolutely.
And one last point I want to make, 10 seconds. When on 15th August 2021, which was referred to, Pakistan was going gaga over the whole thing that Afghans have now taken over Afghanistan, Taliban has taken over Afghanistan, and Pakistan will get strategic depth. And now on the Durand line, on both sides of Durand line are Pashtuns. And Pashtuns do not identify this imaginary line. They are Pakistani Pashtun, they are Afghani Pashtun, but they are Pashtuns. And now to hit in those areas, which Pakistan has made a mistake, he has annoyed the Pashtuns on both sides.
Absolutely. I'm sure Lieutenant General KJ Dillon, believe me, Akhundzada is a name we'll be hearing in the days ahead. If the Pashtuns continue to get killed, especially on the Afghan side, this is a name which will surface in the days ahead. Many thanks to you, gentlemen. It was a pleasure having you here on the Super Saturday Debate. With that, it's a quick wrap from my end. Thank you so much for watching. News and updates continue on CNN.